All right, today we're going to learn how to write the equation of a line. So now they're going to give us a picture or points, and we're going to have to come up with the equation. Whereas up till now, they've given us the equation and we were able to pick out the y-intercept or the slope. Well, there are two types of equations that you need to be familiar with for today. One is the slope-intercept form, as we can see right here. That's the one we've been working on. The new one that we're going to learn is point-point form, and that simply means if we're given 2 points, how we can write an equation of a line. We still have a slope, but notice we're not given a y-intercept. We actually have to figure out the y-intercept. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. So right now, take your time, pause the video. These are your steps to find the equation of a line. So this way, if you're struggling in class tomorrow with your worksheet, you have some steps to go back to that we can follow. So the first one, we always try and do the y equals mx plus b first, because that's the really easy one. So we try to find the y-intercept of the line, because once we find the y-intercept on the line, we can use another point to help us figure out the slope. But that doesn't always work. That's why we sometimes have to use the point-point form. So in that case, we would find 2 nice points on the line so that we can apply that to our point-point equation. We find the slope between those 2 nice points, and then we use one of those points to help us write the equation of a line. Don't worry, we're going to go over it all, but really take your time and write this all down. Okay, for example 1, here we are given a picture, and I want you to write the equation of that line. We have our steps here. Let's see which one we can do. Are we going to have to can we go right to the y equals mx plus b? Or do we have to use our point-point? So let's see. Find the y-intercept of the line if possible. Did it. Find another point on the line and figure out the slope. So can I find another point on this line? That's not a pretty point. That's not a pretty point. Oh, that's a pretty point. All right, so I definitely can use my y equals mx plus b. When I start to write, all I have to do is fill in the blanks. Y equals my y-intercept, I figured out to be 2 positive x stands for any point on the line, and now my slope. How did I go from one point to the other? My change in y, I changed 1, 2, 3 positions, so my change in y is 3, and my change in x position was 2 places. So the slope of this is 3/2. And that's the equation of this line. So that means if I pick any point that's on that line, it will work in the equation. So let's say I pick this point right here. That's the point -2, 1. Sorry, -2, -1. So if I put in -1 in for y and -2 in for x, do some math, voila! -1 equals -1. it works. So my equation of a line is going to work for any point that I put into it. We've got another example over here. I know it kind of got weirded out when I copied and pasted it. I was trying to make it transparent, but we get the idea. I'm going to go through this and let's see. Find the y-intercept of the line if possible. Oh, I don't know what that is. That's not a pretty point. Guess what? We can't use the good old-fashioned y equals mx plus b. Not enough information. This is where I have to use my point-point equation. So it says find two nice points to work with to use our point-point. All right, so I'm going to find two nice points. Let's see. Here is a nice point, and here is a nice point. Somewhere that crosses the grid where two lines cross. So this is the point -1, 2. And this is the point 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, -4, 3. Find the slope between these two nice points. Okay, so slope is change in y over change in x. So my y value, I'm going to do 3 minus 2, -4 minus a -1. So I get 1 over -3. So my slope is -1/3. But I don't know my y-intercept, so I can't put it in there. So now we're going to learn how to use that point-point formula. Point-point formula says y minus one of the y values equals slope times x minus one of the x values. Now, when we write an equation of a line, we always have to have an x and a y, because an equation of a line represents the intersection of a point over x up y. Y, that's this y right here, minus, now I'm going to pick either point. Which point do you want to use? It doesn't matter. I'm going to use this point. In for y, 1, I'm going to put 3. The slope was -1/3. X, representing this x right here, minus the x value, which was -4. If I clean this all up, -1/3 times x is -1/3 x. Clean that up right there, and let's see, a negative makes that a positive, so that's -4/3 when I multiply it out. I'm going to bring my 3 over, and let's see, that gives me y equals -1/3 x, and then -4/3 plus 3 gets me 5/3. That's the equation of my line. So if I were to look at it, that y-intercept is really 5/3. But we didn't know that until we figured it out. And yes, you would get the same equation if you decided to use the point -1, 2. Test our equation for a value of x. So in other words, let's pick an x value. 1, don't like it. 2, oh, look how 2 is. 2 gives me back a nice answer. if I put 2 into my equation, 1 should come up as the answer. Let's test ourselves. Negative 1/3 times 2 plus 5/3. Well, that would be negative 2/3 plus 5/3. My pen is going wonky, it's not writing. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3 over 3, which is my y value. And guess what? My y value is 1. So we did write a correct equation. All right, so given 2 points, write the equation of this line in slope-intercept form. So 2/5 over 2 up 5, 5/7 over 5 up 7. If I connect these with a straight line, can I see where that line crosses the y-intercept? Maybe, but to be perfect, I'm going to take this. I can't assume that it crosses right there at 4. If I apply my slope, which I can figure out by looking at this, let's see, to get from one dot to the other, I went over 3 and down 2. I went over 3 and down 2. It does not cross at a very nice spot. So we can't just go and use our cheating way of our y-intercept. It looks like it crosses at 1, 2, 3, 3 and something, but we don't know what that something is. It's not quite 4. So we're going to have to use our point, which is y minus one of my y values. Figure out my slope, x minus one of my x values. All right, so which point would you like to use? Doesn't matter. We used the first one last time, so let's do this point. So since we want to write it in slope-intercept form, we know it has to be y equals mx plus b. All right, so y minus this y value of 7 equals slope times x minus the x value of 5. Well, I don't know what the slope is, so I have to take a side step over here and figure out my slope. But that's easy. I can just count. My slope was change in y of 2, 1, 2, change in x of 3. So my slope is 2/3. All right, so now I just have to do some math. Ooh, fractions are our friends. 2/3 x, minus, well, 2/3 times 5 is 10/3. And since they want the equation in slope-intercept form, I've got to get my y alone. So that means I have to take that negative 7 and move it over to the other side. So now what is negative 10/3 plus 7? Ooh, fractions. Now some of you may reach for your calculator, but really I have to write 7 with a denominator of 3, so that's really just 21/3. So negative 10 plus 21 is a positive 11/3. Well, 11/3 is 3 and 2/3. Looks pretty good. There's the equation of my line.